The Altamonte Jane Doe, 1973, also known as Ginger, an unidentified female skeleton was found in a densely wooded area dumped like garbage. In fact, this densely wooded area actually was used to dump garbage along Route 43 in Altamonte Springs, Florida, in August of 1973. Like so many of these Jane and John Does, she was disposed of as if she didn't matter, along with other abandoned items being tossed away. She was placed there at least a month prior, but it may have been longer. She was likely a white female in her mid to late teens and was around 5'4" tall. Her light brown hair was medium length and it was worn in a short ponytail. She would receive the nickname Ginger by the authorities investigating her case. Isotope testing of her bones indicated that Ginger was U.S. born, and she likely started out in the west to the northwestern area of the United States. It appears she moved to the Midwest or spent time in Florida before her death. It's also important to know that the isotope testing isn't always accurate. A new facial reconstruction was just released by a forensic artist. Ginger is believed to have possibly been a victim of a serial named Joe Spaziano, also known as Crazy Joe. He was a member of the Outlaws motorcycle gang, which was active in the area. A local woman saw Spaziano with a young lady riding on the back of his motorcycle in the spring of 1973. This happened at Daytona Beach. She remembered because the girl asked the witness to hold her purse for safekeeping, a purse that she never came back for. Instead, Spaziano found her 5 days later. While she did give the purse to Spaziano out of fear, she had peeked inside prior to this happening. The young woman was from Ann Arbor, Michigan, according to the ID inside. Spaziano pled no contest to second-degree murder for the killing of Laura Lynn Herbert, who was 18. Spaziano is serving life in prison for the other crime. Anyone with any information on this case can contact the Seminole County Sheriff's Office. Ginger has gone unidentified for 48 years. The Bibb Co Jane Doe, 1961. This channel has covered over 50 unidentified does so far, and I'm about to do something I've never done before. I'm repeating a case. This is a case that stayed with me, and I found a much better sketch than I originally included the first time around. This case was just a sad accident at the end of a sad story for a sad young man. He was hitchhiking, telling the man who gave him a ride that his parents were divorcing and that he was in the middle of a terrible situation. He said that his choices were to stay home and go live in an orphanage or quit school and join the Navy, although it did not appear he was even old enough for that to happen. The young boy hitched a ride with a passing motorist and stated that he was a runaway. He also stated that he had no specific destination in mind. The man who gave him a ride would go on later to say that he did not appear old enough to join the Navy. He was most likely born around the mid-1940s, and he had sun-bleached brown hair that was very light in color. Sadly, not long into this journey, the driver may have fallen asleep. In any case, he accidentally swerved, striking a guardrail, and the vehicle entered the water below. The driver survived and shared all he knew about the young man, but the young man himself suffered a broken neck and perished. The authorities found themselves able to speak to 3 different motorists who gave him a ride. One said he mentioned relatives between Montevelo, Alabama, and South Carolina. He said he had tried to find work in the area but had no luck. Another motorist claimed that he might have connections to the military service, and a third suggested he might have been an inmate at an institution. The Pall Mall cigarettes that he carried with him had a South Carolina tax stamp. I nearly broke my own rule about postmortem photos. In the end, I couldn't do it. But there are 2 photos, not gruesome at all, and his face is very clear. But it feels disrespectful to show death photos, especially for the person in the photo who has no choice in the matter. But in this case, if you think you may know who he is, please search out that photo. So in closing, we know he had blue eyes, light brown hair, and maybe had a slight limp. He was born in the late 1940s and had the words RY plus LOVE written on his left arm. His parents were divorcing, and he may have come from Alabama or South Carolina, and he was a smoker. He was also found wearing a medal, The medal itself was the Miraculous Medal of Immaculate Conception, so this means he may have been Catholic, but not necessarily so. A ruby ring that said U.S. Army on the inside was in the vehicle also, and it's believed this belonged to him. The Bibb Co Jane Doe has gone unidentified for 60 years. The Clay Co Jane Doe, 1985. On April 18, 1985, the partial skeletal remains of a woman were located in a field along Cooley Road, located in rural southeastern Clay County, Missouri. Most of the bones were long gone, but they did include her skull and some teeth. 2 bullets were also located at the scene, which was about 11 miles east of Missouri City. The autopsy suggests she could have been there for about a year. Further tests over the years have indicated she was either African American or biracial, and was believed to be between the ages of 17 and 25. It's possible she did not have access to dental care, as she had several cavities that might have been causing pain at the time. She also had some visible decay on her upper incisors. No clothes were found at the scene except for tortoiseshell-colored hair combs that were found near the remains. She would likely have been born around the years 1960 to 1968. The image was released in 2016, and when that was done, there was a call that came into Crime Stoppers that said her name may have been Darlene, and that they believed she resided in Kansas City, Kansas, with 2 children. The caller stated they believed she worked with them at an envelope company in Northland. There has been no indication if this tip was ever ruled out or investigated. Those with information regarding the identity of this Jane Doe are asked to contact the Clay County Sheriff's Office. The Clay Co Jane Doe has gone unidentified for 36 years. The Yosemite Summit Jane Doe, 1983. In 1983, to their horror, some hikers found the partial skeletal remains of a young woman along Glacier Point Road in Yosemite National Park. Forensic anthropologists believe that this woman was in her late teens to early 30s. It's believed she was possibly a victim of Henry Lee Lucas. As we all know, Lucas was quick to claim victims he didn't actually take in order to inflate his bragging rights and focus more attention on himself and his crimes. However, unlike many of his false claims, this time he knew information only the person who took her life could have known. So in this case, she may have been one of his actual victims. The facial reconstruction has been made without her jaw, as it was missing. Lucas would go on to claim that she was a female hitchhiker he picked up on Highway 41 between Fresno, California, and Yosemite National Park in the early 1980s. He would go on to state the victim was 5'5" to 5'6", tall, she had long hair that was straight, and she was either a blonde or had light brown hair. She weighed around 100 to 125 pounds and wore silver rings on both hands. By his death in 2001, he claimed to have taken the lives of 600 women, but most of them are believed to be false. I have purposely not covered serials for the most part because I don't want to give them any kind of credit for what they did, but I'm happy to criticize his need for adding to his numbers. DNA was the downfall of Henry Lucas. It simply proved he didn't deserve the notoriety he wanted to get. He was also not very good at the details, like timelines or the cause of death. The false claims only stopped when he died from heart failure at the age of 64. There are only proof in 3 cases, not counting this one, that it appears he actually did what he said he did. Many people believe his victim count is under 10. Not that this is irrelevant, but it's nowhere near what he claimed. I have provided the contact information if you can help solve this case. Because she, like so many of the Does of her time, was believed to be hitchhiking, it's conceivable that she could be from anywhere within the United States. The Yosemite Summit Jane Doe has gone unidentified for 38 years. That's it for today, everybody. Thank you so much for watching and listening. If you haven't yet, hit the subscribe button. Take care of yourselves and each other.